Hello, my name is Talia Schmidt, and I am co-founder of Eco Schools Leadership Initiative, or ESLI. Today we are going to be doing the lesson Greenhouse Gas Tag, an ESLI original. The objectives of the game are for kids to understand the science behind a warming climate and the solutions they have to help make a change. Step 1. Use the picture attached or another picture of the greenhouse effect to go over the basics of the greenhouse effect. Step 2. Instructor designates one side of the room or field as Earth and the other side as the Sun.
Between that tree and that tree is the sun, and between the trampoline and the bush is the Earth. And you want space because kids are going to be running between them, and it's kind of like a line. And so if you don't have a rope or something, you can just kind of say it's in between those two places.
Step 3. The class of students are split into two groups. 3/4 of the students represent energy and 1/4 represent greenhouse gases.
Okay, so I'm going to take the three of you, and you're going to be our greenhouse gases. So we have about 13 people or so we're going to have about three of you be the greenhouse gases.
Step 4. The students representing energy start at the sun. The students representing greenhouse gases start in the middle of the field. When the instructor says go, the energy students run to the other side of the field to the Earth. Once the energy students have reached the Earth, they transform from solar energy to heat energy, radiating off the surface of the Earth. Step 5. Once the instructor says go, the energy students run back to the atmosphere, and the greenhouse gas students try to tag them. Step 6. Once tagged, the energy students go off to the side, and the next round they become a greenhouse gas. This shows that the number of greenhouse gases build over time.
That our new greenhouse gases join in and we start again.
Step 7. The game continues for 5 rounds, or until there are only 0 to 1 people remaining.
On your mark. Get set, go! Okay. Yeah, okay, so we can do it. We can do another one of those, but okay, so congratulations, greenhouse gases and everybody else. You finished the game. And basically what this shows is kind of like we said, over time, the more greenhouse gases are, the more energy is trapped, right? And so students can actually see that this is happening. And so you can say, how much energy made it back out, to the atmosphere? And in real life, obviously there's some that makes it back. And there's some, you can specify, there's some energy that gets trapped, right? And stays within the Earth and isn't trying to get back out into the atmosphere. So you definitely want to be as scientifically correct as you can. But this is just kind of the general idea of what's happening. And this is why things are warming.
Step 8. Extension. Change up the number of people who start out representing greenhouse gases, and then pose the question, what happened when there were more greenhouse gases?
Now, we have 6 greenhouse gases instead of 3. So what do we think is going to happen? What do we think is going to happen? A little louder. Lizzie, what do you think?
Everyone will get tagged sooner.
Yes. So if you have more greenhouse gases, we are predicting that less energy is going to be able to make it back to the atmosphere right away. Right? Okay, so let's see if that actually happens. On your mark. Get set. Go! Okay, energy. Okay, well, oh wait. Okay, on your mark. Get set, go! Okay, so did we have anyone that made it back? Okay, we had one person that made it back. So you could kind of show that as this is what's happening. This is literally, that you can actually show this is actually what happens when you have more greenhouse gases. Last part. Okay, so then we would sit down. So sit down. After every ESLI lesson, you have a debrief. So you never want to just do a lesson and then leave, because the biggest part of it is talking about what you just did. I'm going to draw, so what's this?
It's a sun.
Sun. Sun. And you have, actually, I'm going to do the earth the same color. And you have the earth, which energy is going this way. So which one of our students can draw where we think the greenhouse gases are? Just like a blanket. Any of our students? That's great. Now label it GHG. Can you see that? Okay, perfect. Good job, students. Okay, so that's exactly right. So we have the greenhouse gases, and so we have energy coming in from the sun, comes in, and then what happens next? Who wants to draw what they think happens once energy comes and hits the earth? Yeah, exactly. And so then it could get trapped, right? And so that's exactly what we just did. So that is why the earth can be heating. Now, class, where do we think greenhouse gases come from? Don't forget this part. We definitely have times where you kind of lose time, but this is the most important part. So talk about this part. Where do greenhouse gases come from? Who knows? Matt.
Cow farts.
Cow farts. Good answer.
Cars.
Cars? Okay, does anyone know any types of greenhouse gases?
Carbon dioxide.
Carbon dioxide. That's one of the major ones. And so you can make it real for them. You can say it comes from pollution. So what happens when in factories or when you drive too much? There becomes more greenhouse gases. Yeah, exactly. So you pose the question, where do greenhouse gases come from? And then they answer. And then you talk about, so those greenhouse gases, so Carmen, does that mean that if you are using more trash, or if you're driving your car more or taking more planes, are you increasing the amount of greenhouse gases that you're emitting as a person, or are you decreasing the amount? You're increasing the amount. So bring it back to them. So how is that affecting, how is what they're doing affecting this and what we just did? So they're doing these different things, and that's increasing the amount of greenhouse gases, right? And so you're like, oh wait, so if we're all increasing the amount, does that mean that Earth is getting warmer or colder? Is that blanket, like, is there more of a blanket, or is there less of a blanket? More of a blanket, yeah, exactly. So more energy is being trapped inside. And so when more energy is trapped inside, then the Earth is heating up. So then you can start saying, well, so this is why, you might be hearing that the Earth is getting a little bit hotter. And that's because, we've been doing this, but now we have solutions. And throughout the entire year, we've been going over different ways that you can reduce your amount of CO2 that you emit, right? Reduce the amount of pollution, reduce your amount of greenhouse gases. So ideally, you do this lesson at the very end. Like we had it in our schedule planned out for May, because it's a culmination of everything that you've done. So you can say, so you can reflect and you can be like, Megan, what were some of the different things that we did this year that you learned about how, like, different solutions to reduce our amount of greenhouse gases? So can you think of any of the things that we might have done, or any ideas you have to reduce the amount of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere? We could bike more. Yeah, and so you might even have done the bike lesson. We have a bike lesson. Does anyone else have any other things? Any other ways to reduce greenhouse gases?
You could like do these like I think they're called emission caps. Like you cap how much like a limit on like how much
Yeah.
greenhouse gas.
That's great. Does anyone have any other ones?
Eating local food.
Local food, yes, we have a lesson on that too, right? So if you have less transport, right, that's less greenhouse gases. So bring in what you've done. So yeah, we have a lesson so you can be like, kids, remember when we identified where that banana came from and that apple came from and why it's important that you are getting the local apples rather than those all the way from Washington? And that's why, because you're reducing the amount of greenhouse gases. So bring everything in. Hey, Magna, remember when you did those cereal box folders? So we were talking about reducing the amount of waste, and when you're reducing the amount of waste, right, then you're using less energy to make products, and so you're reducing the amount of greenhouse gases. So just bring in all those different parts throughout the entire year, and now's your chance to say, hey, this is why it's actually important. And now you kids have the exact strategies that you need in order to help make a difference, and this is why. Scientifically, this is why, you know? And so they can't really argue with that. So when we teach our climate change lesson, we are not political at all. We're not saying this side is right, this side is wrong. We're saying this is what science is saying, this is why it's saying this, and throughout the year we've had different solutions. And so what are you guys going to do? So at the end of this, once you have your lovely assistant or whoever helping you, and you do this drawing, then you can have the kids sit down, and this is their culmination. So you give them each a piece of paper, and you can have them draw out one thing that they're going to do. So what are their goals for the summer? That's a really good one, because they're going to be going right into the summer. So what are they going to try to do to reduce the amount of greenhouse gases, carbon dioxide that they're using? Okay? And then after that, since it's the last one, talk to the SAC director, but you can have like a little mini party where sometimes you can bring in local food or other food or whatever, or music or something, just to kind of leave them on a good note of what ESLI is and what we do.